from the makers of Taboo Terrorist and the 7-year-old surgeon, Team President, inaugurating in a cinema near you this fall. Rated PG-13. Don't forget to vote.
Remember the image of President Bush swooping in on a fighter jet to visit war-weary troops. It was May Day 2003, and his message was of a war won.
Major combat operations in Iraq have ended. In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed.
A brilliant image, an heroic story. A commander boosting the morale of his troops.
The aircraft carrier Bush landed on that day was floating off the coast of California, just 30 miles from here, Hollywood. We're spinning fiction into something people can believe is a $100 billion a year industry.
Where America has perfected the craft of telling stories to itself. Where epic struggles are staged on a daily basis. Where fake people are real and real people are fake. And most importantly, where the good guy always wins, no matter how melodramatic.
That day on the aircraft carrier in spring 2003, the Bush presidency merged with Hollywood. It was a box office sensation.
So there was wardrobe people, there was makeup people, there was a scriptwriter, there was a banner maker. We had all the elements of a kind of Jerry Bruckheimer moment.
The office of president generates many fictions.
The following year, it was his knack for smart script writing that returned him to the White House with an increased majority. His presidency was transformed from a humdrum terrorist flick to one of the greatest action blockbusters of all time.
It had everything, an evil villain, a spectacular setting, and in that moment, a triumphant hero.
Never before had Hollywood and politics been so close. Of course, every president has had his showbiz moments. Bill Clinton's presidency had the terrifying plotline of Fatal Attraction with the realism of a teen college farce.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Ronald Reagan was a B-list actor even before his presidency.
And after all, why shouldn't we believe that? We are Americans.
And JFK was a paranoid Oliver Stone whodunit. Literally.
Politics in America isn't about intelligence. It's about telling stories. The best politicians in America have been screenwriters from the word go.
From the moment he won the presidency, Bush gave America a whole new form of political theatre. It was mission-accomplished politics, where you don't have to accomplish what you set out to, you just have to say you have. Instead of actually winning enough votes, Bush just said he had. And instead of winning the war, Bush just dressed up in a jumpsuit and projected an image of victory. Mission-accomplished politics has defined this election campaign. McCain and Obama know that nowadays it's not just that image shapes reality, it's that reality has been left on the cutting room floor. Both of them are auditioning for the greatest role of their lives, the lead in the biggest blockbuster of all time.
Bush started out in Washington and ended up here in Hollywood.
Tonight, I reverse that journey, starting out in LA on a road trip across the middle of America. Along the way, we will stop off in the home states of the candidates, finally ending up in Washington, D.C., where I've lined up an exclusive meeting with President George Bush, the 43rd President of the United States of America. 18 months ago, 15 candidates were sizing up their presidential jumpsuits. By the end of January, however, there are only 4 candidates in the race. For the Democrats, Barack Obama had to fight off a formidable opponent, Hillary Clinton, who had a former president on her campaign team. a man who could win over any crowd with his charisma and charm.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Well, wait a minute. I can't believe you're saying this. Now, wait a minute. I listen to you. You interrupted my speech. You let me talk, will you?
While on the Republican side, John McCain's main opponent, Mike Huckabee, had an even more compelling ally.
My plan to secure the border, 2 words: Chuck Norris.
Mike Huckabee's a lifelong hunter who'll protect our Second Amendment rights.
Eventually, McCain and Obama both prevailed.
And I will be making no decisions tonight.
Eventually.
Today, as I suspend my campaign, I congratulate him.
And now just 2 candidates face each other in the ultimate battle. So who are Barack Obama and John McCain? Charles? Thanks, Charles. It's going to go down to the wire with both candidates putting in a superb performance so far.
On the red team is John Sidney McCain. McCain is possibly the whitest man in America, certainly the oldest. With age comes experience, but also dementia.
That Al-Qaeda is going back into Iran and receiving training at... I'm sorry, the Iranians are training extremists, not Al-Qaeda.
Chalk that up as confused by the Middle East, although being a Republican, this is seen as an advantage. War hero McCain endured 5 years of torture locked in a Viet Cong prison chamber, which is not nearly as bad as the 22 years he's since endured in the US Senate chamber.
Of the last 43 winners in this race, 42 of them have been old white men. The exception being JFK, who was a young white man. And we all know what happened to him. So on that form, you'd have to say McCain will be a tough candidate to beat.
The man with that task is Barack Hussein Obama from the blue team. Obama is African-American, which statistically means he's either a sports star, a rap artist, or a crack addict. Probably all 3. Although a Christian, Obama's father was a Muslim from Kenya, and Obama went to school in Indonesia when he was young, which leads many to think he's a terrorist. Although it actually means he's open-minded, which is even worse in the eyes of the American public.
Obama is a strong candidate with a great track record for making eloquent, inspiring speeches.
What they'll say is, well, it costs too much money. But you know what? It would cost about the same as what we would spend. Over the course of 10 years, it would cost what it would cost us. It would cost us about the same as it would cost for about... Hold on one second. I can't hear myself.
The race is going to be a close one. This campaign has candidates never seen before. One is a black man, the other one is old enough to have had a black man as his slave. One thing's for certain, it'll be a fight to the death, especially if McCain dies of old age. Charles?
Thanks, Charles. Well, whoever wins this election, the commentators all agree on one thing. This election is the most important election since the last election. How important are the elections to you?
Not that important, I guess.
Who's the Republican candidate?
I don't know. No.
Who's the Democrat candidate?
Clinton, I guess.
It's such a weird lineup this year, don't you think? And I think that it's interesting to have a woman and a black man and a white man. Very strange.
When are the elections?
I don't know. Next year sometime? Or this? I don't know.
I ain't voting.
Why not?
Don't want to. I'm not going to win.
McCain is an archetypical Republican because he's safe and solid and secure and you know what you're getting. Obama's an archetypical Democrat because he's visionary and sexy and younger and good-looking.
End of day 1. We're in LA. The airline has lost my bags. Deb has booked us into this hotel downtown. So this is our hotel, and up there are a lot of druggies, and then down there are a whole lot more druggies. It's actually terrifying to go out at night. In the brochure, the main boast of this hotel is that it has a 24-hour security guard, but the facilities are adequate. My toilet, here is my shower, located in a direct line of sight to the lifts. It's quiet, and at least it's safe with the security guard and all. It's Gunshots. Downtown LA, 5 stars.
Hello, I'm in the cinema, I can't really talk. Shh. Really? How long have they been dating? Shut up. Sorry, I'll take it out in the lobby. This next bit's product placement anyway. I'll be back in 3.5 minutes. Yeah. Oh, I gotta go. This is the good part. This is where he goes to Iraq on false premise. Searing political satire.
9/11 gave George Bush Jr. Absolute purpose.
It certainly was his defining moment as a human being. I mean, nothing in the world will ever affect George Bush or his presidency as much as 9/11 did.
Just like the Cold War provided a narrative for American foreign policy, 9/11 and the struggle against Islamic terrorism became the dominant focus and narrative.
It's the only terrorist attack in history that was actually given to us live on every major network as it happened. So it wasn't a movie-like moment, it was the seminal movie moment of terrorism history.
In movie terms, 9/11 was Bush's inciting incident.
Every story has a certain thing that, hopefully within the first 10, 20 minutes of the beginning where the audience says, oh, now what's going to happen?
It's a visual opening. Music maybe, sound effects, very rarely with dialogue or characters. It's just a visual opening that grasps you.
For Bush, 9/11 was exactly what he needed. A grand spectacle that could bring people together. Holy shit!
I had my own inciting incident today.
Lucky me, I was mugged. Yesterday afternoon I had a bit of a sniffle from the plane, I think. Sorry, can we... So I was trying to track down some Sudafed, but nobody had any drugs. Excuse me, do you have any drugs? Do you have any drugs? But I think I handled myself pretty well. Shit. What? Let's get out of here. Okay? Come on.
Following the inciting incident of a movie, the main character gets to go wherever they want. Bush decided to come here, to Iraq.
If the George Bush presidency was a screenplay, and how he got us to believe that Iraq was an important place to invade is masterful writing.
I can't disclose my exact location, but the 9/11 attacks were orchestrated by Saudis over 2,000 miles east of here. Yet Bush didn't care.
If it could not use the genuine truth to justify what they did, what they wanted to do, they could stretch it in particular ways. And they wound up stretching it in a very extraordinary way.
Is that no matter how long it takes, we're going to run them down one by one.
It was the ultimate plot fudge.
You're doing something that is implausible or really not logical, and you're getting away with it. You're hoping the audience won't notice it. You're fudging.
His plot fudge worked because his production values were slick.
It's got to look good. I can't take my eyes off it. And of course, if it explodes...
Look at how Colin Powell is sweating when he's delivering that PowerPoint presentation. It was the slickest presentation I've ever seen of falsehoods and stretches and lies.
To reach 300 million people, you need a central storyline that is short enough, identifiable enough at some basic level threat.
Before anyone had worked out what was happening, America was embedded in Iraq. In the movie business, this would be known as a refrigerator moment.
You love the film. You come out of the theater praising it, quoting lines, scenes.
A refrigerator moment is when you go to a Woody Allen movie. Then later that night, you go to the refrigerator, you open the door, and you say, wait a minute. He'd never be able to beg Scarlett Johansson.
The refrigerator moment wouldn't come for another 3 years.
It was definitely a stretch dependent on Iraq, and given that there was no evidence for a connection between Saddam Hussein and the Islamic terrorists in Afghanistan or Osama bin Laden in particular.
Unfortunately for Bush, Iraq did not pan out exactly the same as in the movies. Saying the war was over did not mean the credits would roll. But he had proved that in American politics, with the right production values, you can bend reality to suit any story.
Oh. So when Americans see Iraq in the movies, this is the Iraq they're seeing.
This is the Iraq they've seen, also intertwined with the news, of course. So it is really almost real, simulated here.
But nobody dies.
But nobody dies. We say action, we say cut. People walk out there after work and get in their cars and go home. This is movie magic. Whatever you see is really not there.
My first stop on the road to the White House is Arizona, a state replete with gun shops for toddlers and knitting stores for the elderly. And there is no one here more elderly than Senator John McCain, Republican nominee for the White House. So who is John McCain? Doctors say that despite his considerable age, he's as sprightly as a spring chicken. A very old spring chicken.
Nobody expects a coherent argument to go do anything from a 70-year-old.
General Petraeus goes out there almost every day in an unarmed Humvee.
Because I checked with General Petraeus' people overnight, and they said that he never goes out in anything less than an up-armored Humvee.
Well, I'm not saying that they could go without protection.
A lot has been made of John McCain's age. People say that he's good at telling stories about the war, the Civil War, and he smiles a lot because he can't hear anything. But those are just cheap jokes. To find out the facts about his age, I asked an evolutionary biologist.
How old is John McCain?
It's about 3.5 billion years old.
Is that the oldest life form known to science?
Yes, it is.
How did a life form like McCain first come about?
The hydrothermal vents under the sea, those places where hot gases spew out from the Earth's surface, there's lots of primitive organisms that live around them, and that provides sort of an ideal scenario for the origin of life as well.
Do you understand this question?
We don't really understand that question.
What is likely to happen? Will McCain eventually die?
Some species live almost, forever, like some trees. If they're able to propagate themselves through clonally, like some, creosote bushes and some organisms, effectively they can live forever.
Republican strategists say that McCain's incredible age is an advantage, allowing him to take a long-term view on policy.
President Bush has talked about our staying in Iraq for 50 years.
Maybe 100.
Is that
how long we've been in South Korea? We've been in Japan for 60 years. We've been in South Korea for 50 years or so. That'd be fine with me.
Strategists hope that this kind of thinking will appeal to the imperialist warmonger demographic. In other words, ordinary American voters.
Had a bit of an accident on the road. It was 107 degrees out there in the desert, I assume Celsius. So I indulged in a small beverage. Oh, spray candy. Ow! Ow, fuck. Kind of embarrassing. But that was worse. Nick! Over there! Found anything, Brett?
Forget it, they've gone.
Fuck! So Nick won't lend me his pants.
Come on. Well, look, I would, okay, but I'm a 28 waist. So? Okay, look, I might have something a little more stretchy, okay?
McCain's backstory is a classic Hollywood tale, a war hero who loves his mother.
I understand that I was born on a Friday.
No, you were born on a
Traditional.
Saturday. He was the sweetest, nicest child I've ever known. I think he'll make a wonderful president. Well, he's not perfect. Did I say that?
He doesn't pay enough attention to his mother, I think.
No, I'm happy with it. I have no complaints.
In fact,
It's a movie we've all seen before. John McCain has totally ripped off the plot line of the Manchurian Candidate. Think about it. Raymond Shaw was also a prisoner of war, greeted as a hero. He was the son of a high-ranking military official who also enjoyed a very close relationship with his mother. Of course, in the movie, his mother then happened to brainwash him, turning him into an unwitting communist sleeper agent who brought down the American political system from inside. Not that anyone would think John McCain was a sleeper agent for the communists.
He was tortured for 5 years in Vietnam. Do you think there's a risk that he was brainwashed during that time and he's actually a communist sleeper cell?
There's a possibility for anything. This nation has done a lot of weird things.
I think that's a possibility, yes. I mean, I think that has a lot to do with his thought process, yes.
Could be.
America could be living under a communist dictatorship if they elect McCain.
Yeah, I believe so.
Fantastic success today. I found my pants.
Spray can?
Oh, can I have a look at them? Hey! My pants! My pants! My pants, I got my pants back. Might need a bit of a clean.
Being a Republican, McCain has the stigma of the last 8 years hanging over him, much like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, which is also hanging over him. As such, he's keen to distance himself from the Bush presidency and high cholesterol.
McCain in his campaign has to kind of tread lightly on the, well, has been able to tread lightly on whether or not he's basically going to be a continuation of the Bush administration or a change from it.
And there are significant differences between the two conservative white men. While Bush is backed by the oil industry, McCain is backed by the coal industry. Bush is a millionaire from Texas, while McCain is a millionaire from Arizona. And while George Bush believes in bombing Iraq, John McCain believes in bombing Iraq back to the Stone Age. For someone trying to distance himself from Bush, it's ironic that McCain's campaign would be based on his support of the Iraq War. What's even more ironic is that the people who will decide whether that's ironic or not don't understand what irony is, much like Alanis Morissette.
It's like rain.
How would you define the word irony?
God, I left my Webster's at home. Defining irony.
I don't know.
It's pretty ironic. Can't think of anything?
I can't think of anything right now.
Perfect. How about not being able to think of something ironic when asked the question, what's
I don't
the most
think that
ironic?
that's fair.
That song, isn't it ironic, Alanis Morissette?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you could just say I don't know. What do you got?
Do you think it's ironic that John McCain tries to distance himself from Bush, even though they have the same policy in Iraq?
Ironic? Yes.
That's not ironic.
This is the only PowerPoint in my room. Deborah, my producer, is turning out to be a bit of a bore. It's always organise this, email that.
So what time did you end up organising at the White House?
Oh, it's in an email. I'll email it to you.
Okay.
Anyway, she's hired this production assistant, Anthony. He's not the brightest spark. His first job was to organise a car.
We can't even fit 6 of us in here. It's a 5-seater car. You're a fucking turd.
But he did redeem himself this morning. Like any movie, it was vital to keep the audience engaged. But by 2004, Bush's main plot line was adrift. Over 1,100 American soldiers had been killed in Iraq, and an estimated $300 billion had been sunk into the enterprise. It was the political equivalent of Kevin Costner's Waterworld.
There are known knowns. There are things we know that we know. There are known unknowns. That is to say, there are things that we now know we don't know. But there are also unknown unknowns. There are things we do not know we don't know.
His audience was growing restless. With the elections approaching, Bush needed something to draw them back in. Luckily for him, there was still one Hollywood trick he was yet to use.
Thank you all.
Sorry, did I miss anything good? They haven't had sex yet, have they?
With the 2004 elections approaching, President Bush found that his main plotline was working against him. He needed a subplot that could distract his audience. Bush chose a romantic subplot.
Now, you can have a good romantic subplot or a poor one. And again, it depends on the writing. If it's good writing, the subplot will be very satisfying and believable.
Believable or not, for his romantic subplot, Bush chose the issue of gay marriage.
It was the case that voters who said in the exit polls that those issues were most important were more likely to vote for George Bush.
At the election, 11 states placed questions on the ballot, asking if gays should be allowed to wed. The answer in all of them was a resounding no.
What I oppose is changing the traditional definition of how Western civilization has defined marriage for a couple of thousand years or longer.
Various Christian branches of religion are adamantly against homosexual of any form, and then the last straw was to try to destroy the marriage institution, because it's pretty well considered that that is one of the major things that holds all civilizations together.
Bringing gay marriage into the equation in 2004 was very effective because it brought out more middle-class, poorly educated people who believed that somewhere in the Bible it says that gay people will be punished.
What poses a greater threat to marriage, gays or divorce?
To me, both are sins.
Guys. Gays?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe in man and woman.
I do not believe a man sleeping with a man.
I don't think Steve and Billy were meant to go together.
I think that goes against the family plan that God has in the Bible.
I felt better when they stayed in the closet. I don't need to know some things.
Gay marriage shouldn't be.
Gay sex is very, very complicated for the church. See, because on the one hand, they hate it, but on the other hand, they do it.
The subplot worked. Bush won the 2004 elections, but his presidency had started to falter. The Iraq War had entered its third year. The violence was escalating. By 2006, with the midterm elections approaching, Bush discovered that war wasn't the quick trip made out to be in the movies.
If a movie's too long, people leave. And they don't tell their friends.
Why are they called movies? Because they move.
Do you remember how long Lord of the Rings was? It just went on, on, and on, and on. And every time you thought it was ending, there'd be another ending. All right, terrible film. Bush is just like Frodo.
But the movie wasn't just dragging on. A new villain had emerged.
Hey, who's that guy? Do you think America is ready for a black president?
Absolutely. Apparently. The American public are going to say, yeah, let's go ahead and elect a black man. How could it get any worse?
They have these pins in Texas that says, if Obama gets elected, is it still the White House?
Well, there are several things notable about the 2004 Democratic Convention, but perhaps now the most notable thing was Barack Obama's speech.
He was nothing until that day.
Obama's speech made it clear he was future presidential material, even though no one had any idea who he was. He electrified his audience by refusing to talk in meaningless, abstract concepts.
Hope. Hope in the face of difficulty. Hope in the face of uncertainty. The audacity of hope. In the end, that is God's greatest gift to us.
We knew that this was a moment where it was something we hadn't seen. We started to see the beginnings of it. We saw the whole rock star thing.
Obama had been known for little else before that speech. One appearance on television catapulted him to the world stage. A nobody became a somebody overnight. He was the political equivalent of a reality television star.
People are just trying to find another easy way to not have to do anything to fix their problems, and who do we have as the wonderful speaker that never really ever says anything?
New hope, a new story for America. You know, these kinds of catchphrases are very important to us. It's how we decide where we're going to eat and where we're going to buy cars and who we're going to elect.
It was a meteoric rise to fame, reminiscent of someone who also gained popularity by simply existing, Paris Hilton.
Why do you think Obama's such a celebrity?
Because he's black.
Because he has style.
He's got that rock star thing to him.
He is a rock star, isn't he?
Always on TV.
Do you think that he runs the risk of overexposure like Paris Hilton?
Not as much as Paris Hilton. I think we'll have to see a sex tape before that.
Can you imagine what an Obama sex tape would be like, though?
Obama and Michelle
Be very popular.
have way too much class to have that kind of sex.
Of course, no one would seriously compare a presidential candidate to Paris Hilton.
He's the biggest celebrity in the world.
Except, of course, the McCain campaign. But the two are totally different.
Paris Hilton is a sex icon, whereas young, powerful black men are never treated as sex objects by lusty older women.
Take that, you son of a bitch!
Ow!
Why do you think women love Obama?
Other than the fact that he's handsome?
Definitely, he's an attractive man.
Yeah, he's cute. Maybe it's because he's tall, dark, and handsome.
Oh, he's everything. He's everything.
But my husband adores Barack Obama, so I love him a little bit too.
I love you.
Obama's sexy, as are all of the best Democratic candidates.
A lot is being made of Obama's oratory skills, not least by mainstream media, but dazzled by him. Of course, more level-headed members of the media don't buy the lie.
As long as he has a canned script, is a fabulous orator.
So after spending an afternoon watching the objective, impartial media and reading respectable, high-minded, trustworthy blogs,
I've uncovered exclusive, extremely valuable original documents which show there's a more sinister side to Obama's speeches.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That
sound familiar?
is the true genius
That's because
of America.
it is. Following a tip-off from an anonymous source, I've obtained documents showing that Barack Obama directly plagiarised his speech word for word.
Not only that, the document itself, ostentatiously entitled The Declaration of Independence, was written in 1776. Obama claims he's a man of new ideas, and yet in reality, his ideas are old. Very old.
Hey, buddy! What are you doing? That's the original!
Not only that, but Obama is outrageously abusing his position by planting secret messages in his speeches.
I've loaded Obama's 2004 Democratic Convention speech into Soundtrack Pro. Now, if you play it backwards... See?
What's he saying?
I don't know, but it's a pretty cool function. I mean, you couldn't do that on version 1.
Could he be saying, I'm a Muslim?
Could be.
When I talked to the Obama campaign, they dismissed the allegations as stupid and idiotic, which only raises the question,
what else are they trying to cover up?
Hello? Do you think America is ready for a Muslim president?
No.
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 Is that going to influence your vote?
Possibly.
I think that if he becomes president, I think it's going to be the end of time. If America turns its back on God, God's going to turn its back on us.
Obama claims Republicans have been spreading malicious rumours in an effort to make him lose.
Higher taxes, more foreign oil. That's the real Obama.
Of course, it's no surprise that Obama's opponents have tried to paint him as the ultimate villain. But like all great Hollywood villains, he has a different story to tell, that of the underdog.
This is the case of basically a black child being raised by a single white mother, which in a sense makes this an exceptional story.
The underdog story is always going to be attractive because we consider ourselves, 99% of us consider ourselves underdogs.
This is the south side of Chicago, one of America's poorest and most radical neighbourhoods, where Obama fought his way up from nothing.
Okay, this is Obama's home, and he's been here for, I think, about a year and a half. He and his family moved here. They were already living in Hyde Park in a smaller, I think, condo, and then they moved here.
Bit of a McMansion.
Exactly. Moving on up a little bit.
By 2006, the Democrats were resurgent. Bush's victory at the polls just 2 years before started to seem very hollow indeed. And then his main plot line collapsed in on itself.
The main reason we went into Iraq at the time was we thought he had weapons of mass destruction. It turns out he didn't, but he had the capacity to make weapons of mass destruction. But I also talked about the human suffering in Iraq.
The refrigerator moment had arrived. The moment when his audience realised he'd fudged the script.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of like a bad acid trip. Every day I got up and I thought they can't do anything any worse.
The weapons of mass destruction story is probably the biggest lie ever told in front of, on the world stage.
With the voters now aware of the plot fudge, the Democrats stormed home to win the 2006 midterm elections. Bush's story had collapsed and the new villain had prevailed.
I can't think of any case, certainly of any blockbuster action film where the hero, the protagonist, loses.
As long as you behave heroically, you win. I mean, look at Deep Impact. Only half the world got blown up. I think Bush would put that in the win column.
It is true that many nations believe that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction, but much of the intelligence turned out to be wrong.
Bush's admission that WMD did not exist was his plot point B. It signalled that his presidency was entering the final act.
They're jumping higher hurdles, and they're moving towards what will be plot point B, what we call plot point B, another major happening or incident that will, in effect, spur them into the final confrontation.
Sorry, I took calls. I shouldn't have been taking soda. There are two people having sex in the back row.
Our next stop is here, New York. If Hollywood is where movies are made, New York is where they're sold.
The marketing of a picture is crucial. Now, if you've got a turkey, it's a turkey.
If Obama doesn't have substance, then all of this great hype and advertising will make people look at him closely and discover he doesn't have substance faster than not having a good advertising campaign.
Most of movie marketing is in the merchandising, something that the Obama campaign is keenly aware of. With black being cool, Obama represents the pinnacle of pop culture.
And the coolest thing you could be was black. I think that was one of the defining things in my generation in the 60s, because you wanted to be able to dance like that, you wanted to be able to play music like that. And yeah, I think to the constipated American imagination, it represents a mysterious sexuality.
Do you think black people define cool?
I think so.
Do you define cool?
Yes.
I think black people are just plain cooler than white people.
We got it going on now.
Do you think that white people copy black people?
Yes, white people do copy black people.
In music and entertainment, yes.
That's where our culture excels, in fashion and sports and music. Whereas, like, white people, they excel in stocks and things like that.
Because white people don't have any culture.
Is Barack Obama cool? Well, aren't we all naturally? It's in our DNA, at least half of his DNA.
But being a cultural icon is not the same as being a politician, which may be a problem for Obama. Hot dog, please.
The adage is that great advertising kills a bad product faster than no advertising at all.
And Obama has some great advertising, especially thanks to his #1 supporter, the Obama Girl, someone who also knows how to market herself. Obama Girl's YouTube videos have been watched by 100 million people worldwide. Her songs treat Obama not so much as a politician, but as a celebrity.
I do. I think I have quite a big crush on Barack Obama.
Did you vote for Barack Obama in the primaries?
Definitely not.
Which begs the question, what if Brand Obama can't translate his celebrity into votes?
I think the enemy for Obama is cynicism and apathy, not McCain. So people either won't vote or they'll say, okay, he's been talking about change, I don't really think it's going to happen, and they either don't vote or they end up voting for McCain at the last minute.
But it's not just the Democrats who rely on advertising. One of McCain's closest allies is the coal industry, which has proven that with a good advertising campaign, literally anything can be made sexy, even black lung.
I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel and I walked to the mine. I loaded 16 tons of #9 coal, and the straw boss said, well, to bless my soul, you load.
Now, thanks to emissions-reducing technology from GE Energy, harnessing the power of coal is looking more beautiful every day. A GE imagination at work.
If I was McCain, instead of trying to make me look sexy, I would say, I'm not sexy, I'm not the sexy candidate, but I am solid. That's a lot more believable than trying to make him into something he's not.
The only way to make McCain sexy is to stab every voter in the eye.
Lots of calls today. One from Piers, our executive producer, reckons we've lost momentum. No, I promise. We'll have a surge in stunts. I'll just get chucked out of lots of buildings by unknown security guards. It always works. Wanting to get an interview with Fox News, my name's Barack Obama. Did you say you were calling 911? Why? Why are you biased against me? Obama. O-B-A-M-A.
I'm so sorry.
Also, the cops called. They still haven't found the person who mugged me in LA. Weirdly, they're looking for him here in New York. What? But that's 3,000 miles from where the attack was orchestrated. Oh, and the airline called. Turns out my bags were sent to Iraq. How's that for a metaphor? Not that Nick understands what a metaphor is.
I can't believe you lied about meeting the president.
I didn't lie. We're just not meeting him. It's a metaphor.
A metaphor for what?
For not meeting the president.
We're going to Washington tomorrow. Really looking forward to the trip. I shouldn't have had to have organised it anyway.
But if you'd told Deb about it, she would have done it all for you.
Oh, fuck you.
Fuck you!
Fuck you!
As Bush's presidency entered its 8th year, most of his audience had either fallen asleep or walked out. His screenplay had failed.
When you're hated by so much of the world, it really makes it hard to sustain the American storyline of freedom-loving defenders, well-liked all over the world for their affluence and their courage in doing the right thing.
Bush had promised his audience a blockbuster action movie with a happy ending.
Is it a happy ending when you see children in the streets that are missing arms and legs? Is it a happy ending when you see people who have basic tribal beliefs and differences basically taken over by American interest for oil?
But somewhere along the line, his presidency had switched genres and become a disaster movie. Or perhaps even a farce.
Should never switch genres. Audiences want to know what they're going to get. They feel abandoned if all of a sudden you take them in another direction.
If anything, Bush had become the Happy Gilmore of the American political system.
I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
Well, we're all exhausted, but we're here. Washington, America's capital. It's the birthplace of freedom, the result of what happens when you let people do what they want. Washington is the murder capital of America. It's the ultimate symbol of democracy. It was here that Nixon ordered the break and enter into the Democratic National Committee's head office. It's a beacon for values. Each year, 184 people in this city are raped. It's also the place where the new president will call home. I think it's fair to say we're all pretty excited. This place humbles you. Fuck you. Fuck you. But for fuck's sake, shut up. Fuck off. But the important thing is we made it. We're no longer a crew and a talent. We're a family. And we did it together. Now, watch me make this shot. So who will be the next president? As we travelled across America, we asked every expert we met who they thought would win.
Barack Obama.
McCain.
It's Barack Obama.
It's going to be McCain.
Obama can win.
McCain.
Be Obama.
McCain.
That's the funny thing about being Obama girl is that asking questions like that, I feel like people expect me to be a political pundit.
Obama has a good crack at this.
It's what America wants. It's what they're looking for in a president. The oldest man they can find.
You got to vote for Barack Obama. And the reason why you got to vote for him is because it's a failed system now. How much worse could it get?
So according to the experts, the next president will look something like this.
It all depends on what type of movie Americans prefer.
McCain's story is that he will win the war.
The notion that this war can be won at all is purely whimsical science fiction.
Science fiction or not, it's a promise many Americans want to believe.
It's your job as a filmmaker to make an audience believe whatever it is that you're telling.
And the character McCain has chosen to play is that of the hokey outsider, Maverick.
Oh, Maverick, look at his voting record. It's like 96% in agreement.
You know, it's a certain earnestness that is actually not necessarily cool, that is not necessarily chic, it's not necessarily witty or slick with words, but it is a Richie Cunningham from Happy Days, a John Wayne chic, if you will, that is very American and within the two coasts, New York and Hollywood, is very, very welcome.
McCain believes that the perfect ending is that John Wayne is resurrected and rides across the desert of Saudi Arabia.
Obama offers a new direction for America, much like a Woody Allen movie. Wordy, abstract, and not to everyone's taste.
You can have a great brand that's narrow and appeals to a very small set of people. The issue in politics is those brands don't work because you've got to get 51%.
Obama has called himself the change candidate. Now, for one to be a change candidate at this point in time, one could be a change candidate by simply making it clear that you're not George Bush.
I think that most Americans want to believe that Barack Obama is offering an alternative ending to the 8 years of the Bush horror story that we've been living.
Either way, both Obama and McCain are using the same tools of movie scripting that Bush perfected.
Ultimately, Bush gave America a new way of thinking about politics, where you don't have to accomplish what you set out to do, you just have to say you have.
I set out to make a documentary about how I met the president.
Post-production, the editing process is the last chance you have to save your butt.
In Bush's America, I learned that I didn't have to achieve what I set out to, I just had to project the image that I had.
And that's as simple as that, you know?
And thanks to that very philosophy, I met with George Bush himself.
Right, because he was a really good host.
Indeed, why stop there? In a mission-accomplished world, I could do anything I wanted. And I'd always dreamed of addressing Congress.
They're all the same, don't you see? Bush, McCain, Obama. They're not real. They're just projections of an image against the silver screen of American politics. Somebody's got to listen to me. Somebody.
I started this story in Hollywood and ended up in Washington. But like Bush, the candidates in this campaign have made the opposite journey. The winner will be the one who can convince voters that they are the most authentic. But in American politics, the only way to do that is through the imagery and spectacle of pure fiction.
Thank you all.
Mission Mission accomplished. Glad that all neatly wrapped up in a happy ending. I'm just here to apply for a job as a coal miner with General Electric. Can you direct me to General Electric? I'm very well qualified. I mean, just take a look at me.
Excuse me?
Yeah. I'm just
Cannot film here without permission. Why are you dressed this way, sir?
I'm just here because I want to be a coal miner.
You want to be a coal miner?
And General Electric.
Okay, be a coal miner someplace else, so you may be arrested.
I just want to.
You won't be a coal miner, you'll be an inmate.
You can see
yes, go outside the door,
I would be perfectly
outside
suited
the door.
in
Sir?
there. If you could just
if you told me you're going to be arrested.
Just want to show General Electric my carbon's emission trading scheme. For what? It'll turn you on. I'm perfectly suited to be a coal miner.
It's Barack Obama.
Hey, do you want to go and see if those two guys are still having sex?